Welcome back to the channel, and in this video we're going to create this C-clamp using AutoCAD. Now we're going to do the Loft command and we're going to create this whole entire C-clamp as well as do the other connecting points to this. If you've seen some of my other videos where I did this one in SolidWorks or Inventor, they are actually separate, so I made two separate videos mainly because it takes so long to do the Loft. But in AutoCAD, the Loft is going to be relatively quick to do. So I'm able to do actually all the models together in this video and put it together. So it should be one probably decent amount of video here, but it's not going to be as long as it would take me to do it in Inventor or SolidWorks. You know, the downside to doing it in this program is that we can't edit things as easily. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump over to AutoCAD and I'll show you how to do this, and I'll also break down exactly what we're going to be creating. So before we get started, we're going to create this loft and we're going to create a path, and that's kind of what I'm highlighting here. And then you can see these lines that are going at different angles, right? The C, B, A, and D's. Those are going to represent these profiles here that you see at the top. Now what you're looking at is what we're going to actually create is a path that we're going to do around it, and then we're going to have these lines going up. These are nothing more than these profiles turned sideways. So we're going to create all of these, and like I said, here in AutoCAD, this is going to be nice and simple because I'm able to create one of them, and then from that point, I'm able to add all the rest of the stuff. Okay, so let's go ahead and start creating this stuff in AutoCAD. Okay, so before we get started, you can see that my ribbon is set up in the 3D mode. If you're an advanced user and you don't need to know where all of those icons are for lines and things of that nature, then you don't have to use this ribbon, right? And that means that you don't have to go back and forth. But by far doing all the 2D work, if you're more comfortable switching over to the drafting and annotations tab here, go ahead and use that, right? But you can see some of the more experienced users, we don't have to really look up at the top and go to find those commands. So what I'm going to try to do in this video is try to use the more advanced approach to it, as opposed to looking for each of those individual icons there along the top. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and switch back to the 3D modeling, and then I'll be talking you through as I go through and create this. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start off by creating that path. So I'm going to start with the line command, and remember that's just L enter. We're going to do a line. We're going to go across this direction. Let's go ahead and turn our ortho on. It's going to be here. And we're going to go across, going this direction, a distance of, that's 2.25. Okay, so now at this point, I have to kind of create some other stuff here in order to, basically build this path that I'm creating. So I'm going to use a circle. I'll click it here, and then it has a radius of 0.194. Then I'll use the move command, so I'm just using M enter. Go ahead and select this circle here. I'll go ahead and grab this quadrant, and let's go ahead and turn our O-snaps on. Let's go here, and while we're here, let's go ahead and take a look at the running O-snaps that I have on. So I'm going to be using the quadrant. We'll go from there to there. And then what we're going to do is we're going to draw a line going from that point going up. And then let's go ahead and use the trim command. So remember, trim is just TR. And I'm typing these commands in. And then I'll go ahead and create here. And it looks like I accidentally made the wrong connection point. I'm just going to create a line here. I meant for that just to cut in short there. Okay. All right, so we have that back or bottom part created. Let's go ahead and start working on this part. So this line is still that 2.25 long. Let's go ahead and create a circle. And it's going to have a radius of 0.5. Like we did before, we're going to grab this thing and move it from this quadrant to that endpoint. Next, we're going to create a line from this quadrant going up at a distance of 5.327. Now we can go ahead and mirror this this piece across to the top. So I'll just use the mirror command. It's going to be MI, enter. Select this circle here, enter. Go from that midpoint and go straight across. And then hit enter again. Now for this line that's going at 100 degrees, what I'm going to first do is draw a line from this quadrant going out this direction, a distance of 2.866. Then I need to rotate this, right? So I'm just going to use the regular rotate command. I'll select my line. I'll go from this base point. It looks like it didn't rotate. So rotate that line from this base point. And remember, counterclockwise is positive here. So I need to just spin this up 10 degrees. Let's go ahead and trim this. And now we have our profile here created, right? So our path or our guide. I'm just going to select all this and I'll use the join command to put it all together. All right, so that went rather quickly. Now let's go ahead and start creating each of these profiles here along the top. The beauty of creating these along the top here is that all I have to do is create one, and then I'm able to stretch it and do the rest. So I'm going to start off with the line, and I'm going to send this line going across a distance of 0.75. Next, let's go ahead and create a circle. I'm going to go ahead and place one at this end point. It does have a radius of 0.125. I'll go ahead and copy this. And let's go ahead and put it from that end point to here. We'll go ahead and create a line going from this midpoint, going straight up. And I'm trying to look at what the height of this thing would be. So the overall height that I need is going to be 1.5. Let's go ahead and make that easily for us. Now I'm going to combine some steps here just to give you a kind of advanced approach to it. If you don't want to do it this way, you can always draw the line going from that quadrant to this one. And you can draw the line going up from that midpoint, going straight up at a height of 1.5. So that's one way that you can do it. And it's kind of more or less a preferred way of doing it. But you can also create this if you didn't have this line at the bottom. You can start a line, and I'm just going to give you kind of some advanced stuff here. And you can choose mid between 2 points. I'll select that quadrant, and I'll select this quadrant, and then I'll just send this line going up at a height of 1.5. All right, either one of those methods will work. But since we do have to go ahead and create that line here at the bottom, it's okay to do it now. Let's go ahead and copy this circle here from this endpoint. Nope, I'll take that back. Let's go ahead and copy this circle from the top quadrant to that point there. Let's go ahead and use the offset command, and remember that's just O enter. And the distance that I need to offset it is going to be from that center to this quadrant. And now I'm able to offset this line going to both sides. Okay, we'll go ahead and use the fillet command. Set our radius. Radius is going to equal to 0.25. And then we have multiple, so I'll use the multiple option. And now I'm able to select on the top of this circle. And then that line here on this side. All right, let's go ahead and erase these lines here in the middle. And then we'll use the trim command. And go ahead and wipe out the rest of these. All right, and so we have this shape created. Don't forget to join this together. So highlight it all. J, enter. And we have our first profile, right? So this is the A profile. Let's zoom out. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this. So I'm just going to make a copy. Select this profile here. And I'm just going to copy this 3 more times, right? So I have 4 of them. We're going to use the stretch command. So S, enter. I want you to use a window, and this is the most important thing. Use a window, go across those here, and I'm going from right to left. Once you make that cross and you hit the last click there, go ahead and hit enter. Pick a base point, and then I'm just going to come down this direction. Make sure your ortho is on, and then I'll type in 0.25. And I'm going to repeat that. So I'll go back to the stretch command, window across here, enter. From here, go down 0.25. And then finally, one more. So stretch, enter. Go across this one. Click here and go down 0.25. All right, so now all of our profiles are created and we have our path created. So we should be able to basically start constructing this. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to rotate this to kind of an isometric view so we can take a look at this. And I'll do that by selecting that corner there and give it a little time. It's just kind of depending on how much stuff you got open or how fast or slow your computer is, but it typically will kind of go over here in the isometric view. And I'm kind of waiting on it to kind of spin for me. It's kind of taking its time, but eventually it should spin to the side there. Okay, give it one more shot. Okay, so remember that this is the A profile first. Now I want to use my gizmo. In order to use the gizmo, and I don't know how important this step is, make sure that you come here to where it says 2D wireframe and just use the regular wireframe. That's going to give you access to use the gizmo, and you can see my background turned white. I'm going to go ahead and take the grid off just so we can see everything that we need to do. And for us, we only have one A profile, so I'm just going to move this, and I'm using the regular move command. So I'll select it, go to move. I'll go to this midpoint, and I'm going to place it along this midpoint. All right, so now I'm able to use my gizmo. I'm going to select it here. I'll switch my gizmo, and I might have to do this again. It was probably better for me to rotate it up there at the top, but I'll use this gizmo here. I'll select the green axis. I'm going to come up, and as long as your ortho is on, I can either type in 90 or I can do a left click above it. Then we're going to select the blue axis here, and we're going to spin it around this way. And so once it's in the correct orientation, I'm just going to do a left click out here. And then I'll type in M for move. And I'll grab this midpoint and place it on that midpoint. Okay, so that's going to be our A one, right? Now we have 4 B's. So let's go ahead and do a copy of these 4 B's. So I'll use the copy command. Select here. Enter. I have 1, 2, 3, and 4. All of them are going to have to be stood up, right? So if I select each and every one of these, and then I'll select the green axis, and I just need to stand them all up. All right, so starting here at the bottom one, this one is going to be rotated at 180 degrees, so I'm going to start with this one first. I'll select the blue axis here. We can just type in 180, that'll spin it around the other way. Okay. I hit the escape button twice, and I'm just going to move it now with the regular move command. And let's go from that endpoint over. And I should have an endpoint here. All right, let's go ahead and put the next one in. So I'll select this one. This time I'm going to select the blue axis. I just need to spin it going around until it's in that orientation. And actually, I could go ahead and erase this one. Well, let's go ahead and spin it since we have it created. And I'm just going to rotate this one as well. So we have both of those. Now we can use the move command and move this one from this midpoint to that endpoint. And then we'll go ahead and move this one from that midpoint to that endpoint. Okay? Now we have one more here, and I'm just going to go ahead and select that one. Then I'll go to the move command, that midpoint, and then I'll come down and find this endpoint here. Okay, so now I'm going to take a look at this from the top view. And you can see that this one is actually standing up. Well, we need this one to actually rotate going backwards 10 degrees. So if I'm able to select it here, and then I can select this blue axis, I'll go ahead and turn my ortho off. And now I can kind of see which direction I need to spin this. So I need to have it going back this direction. Once it's going that direction, I'm just going to type in 10, and it should rotate it back 10 degrees. Let's go ahead and take a look at this back in isometric. And I'm going to rotate this around the other side as those are going to kind of overlap. Now I'll select this again. I'll go back to the move command, find the midpoint on here, and then put it on this endpoint here. And you can see perpendicular come up. So if you have to shift and right click and choose endpoint, you can use that just to make it go to the right place. Okay, so now we have all of our B's done. Next, we're going to start creating our C's. We only have one C and it's located here. So I'll go ahead and select it here. Let's go ahead and put our ortho back on. We'll select the green axis first. And that's just got to stand up at 90 degrees. And then we should be able to move this one and put it into position. So we'll go and select it and use the move. Go from this midpoint to that endpoint. Okay, the C's are done. We only have one left to do, which is going to be these D's. So let's go ahead and go do a copy on this one. We're going to select them both. Once again, we're going to keep using this rotate gizmo. So we're going to stand this one up. We're going to rotate this one 180. So I'll select the blue axis here. I can just type in 180. And then this one we need to rotate 90 degrees, right? So I'll select the blue axis on this one, and I'm just going to rotate this one until I see it in the correct orientation, which looks like that. Okay, last step for these are just to move them. So I'll select here, go to move. I'm going to go from this midpoint to that endpoint. And then with this last one, instead of moving it, I'm going to copy this one because I do have to use this to create something else. All right, so I'm going to use the copy command on this one. I'll select, go to copy, use this midpoint here, and place it along that endpoint. All right, so now we should have everything the way it looks according to our drawing. So that drawing that I showed you there in the beginning, this is exactly how it looks. Some of the most common mistakes that people make when they're about to do this loft here is making sure that each of these endpoints or midpoints are on the endpoints. So everything has to be touching that profile. Okay. So we have everything done. The profiles are already saved together and everything is linked kind of the way we want it to be. All right. Now let's go ahead and do the loft command. So we will go under here and we'll choose loft. All right, and we're going to start off, and it doesn't matter which way we start. I got to start either at this one, or I could start here at the bottom one. But I have to make sure I keep it going in order. So I'll start here. I'll select the next one, and I'll keep coming. And it might be hard for me to see that guide in the middle there, but that's okay. And you can see that it is kind of following us around. And once I have this part completed, let me kind of scroll in a little bit, and let's see. Let's go ahead and hit the enter button, and then I'm going to go ahead and give it some guides here, or I can use path, but I'll use the guide. Then I'll select that line that I first created, and that should kind of stiffen it up, which is what you see happening here. And then let's go ahead and give it another enter. Okay, so now it looks like this, and most people go, well, this thing is kind of broken. Remember that this is in a wireframe. So if I change this to a shades of gray or something of that nature, then you're going to actually see the component that we created. All right. Okay. Let's go ahead and take a look at this from the top view. Okay. So yes, this is actually the part that I wanted to create. Just going to spin it around. Now we're going to deal with what's happening here along the top part and why I saved this one. Let's go ahead and take a look at it here. I'm going to rotate this one back down, so I'll go ahead and select this red axis here. Let's go ahead and stand it up. Then that way when I come to the top view here, I should be able to create these two plates and things of that nature that I need. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off by creating a circle, and I need that circle to be touching here. So I need it to be tangent along here at the top, but I also need it at a certain diameter. So we'll create a circle, click here. It has a radius of 0.5 or a diameter of 1. So I'll just type in the radius, which is going to be 0.5. I'll go ahead and move this. And I'll go ahead and select this quadrant here and place it onto that midpoint. Okay, so there's my shape created. Let's go ahead and take a look at this in an isometric. I can go ahead and rotate this back up now. And that's going to be the shape that I need to place onto my other part here at the bottom. Okay? So what I'm going to do here, and I'm just going to kind of rotate it one more time so we can take a look at what I'm doing. I'm going to move or copy. In our case, let's go ahead and copy this circle. And we're going to go from that midpoint here. And we're going to place it onto a midpoint that we have here. And now we can use the extrude command. We can come up a distance of 0.125. Okay. Now keep in mind that these two are actually separated, so I will have to come back and join these later. Now I'll go ahead and copy. Now before I do that, I do know the size of the hole that I need to put on the inside of here. Let's zoom into here. Let's use a circle, center diameter. I'll go ahead and place it at the center here, and the diameter, well, I'll have to rotate this circle, which is no problem. The diameter is going to be 0.625. Let's go ahead and select that circle, select the red axis here, and just go ahead and stand it up. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy both of these. Actually, I'm going to do this kind of two steps here. I need to copy just the outside one. Let's go from this center and place it at the center that is located here. We're going to use the extrude command. And let's see if I can find that circle that's on the inside of there. And there it is. Go ahead and hit enter. And I'm just going to send it going all the way up through here. Use the subtract function, right? So I'm going to select the object I want to keep, enter, then the object that I want to subtract from it. And I have this shape here. Now I'm able to extrude these two shapes here. I'll send it a height of 1.125. I'll use the subtract function. So I'm going to go to subtract, select the object I want to keep, enter, and then the object that I want to subtract from it is right on the inside. Go ahead and hit enter. I'll move this from this center to this center. Go ahead and type in center. Perfect. Okay. Let's go ahead and rotate this around, and one more. Let's go ahead and move this up. I'll go ahead and use the gizmo. So I'll go to my move gizmo. Once I select this, I'm able to select the green axis here. And then I have to kind of play with this a little bit. So let's zoom in a little bit more. And kind of depending on how high I want it. So I'm kind of looking at my distance there to the side. I'll just type in 6.25. And that seems to be a good distance. And you see that it's actually a little bit shorter than what I needed. So we can always kind of play with this. Let's go up another, look like 0.125 maybe. Yes. Okay, that looks good to me. We can delete this part at the top since now we don't need that anymore. Let's look at this from a side profile view. And then we can join all of this stuff together by using this union option. Once I union this stuff all together, now it's created as one complete solid, right? So that's going to be all that we need to create to do the loft part. Now let's start working on the other two components, right? We have a handle, and then we have the actual connecting rod. All right. Let's look at this from the top view. Slide this to the side. I'll start working on my connecting view, or my connecting rod here. So I'll start off by creating a line that have a distance of 8.875. Let's draw a line from here going up. And the overall radius of this part is going to be 5/8, which is 0.625, but I'll just use the fraction equivalent to cut that in half. So I'll type in 5 divided by 16. And that's going to create that part. I'll come down this direction and I'll go a distance of 8.5. Let's come here. And then with the rest of it, I think I'll stop at this point. I'll draw a line from this back half going up a distance of, let's see, it's 1 is the overall, so I'll go up 0.5. I'll go this direction, a distance of 0.125, and then I'll just kind of come down here. All right, so this has a thickness on the inside of here of 3/8. So I'll just use the offset command, use a distance of 3/16. Then I'll offset this bottom line going up to here. All right, so I'll go ahead and finish this off with some lines here and some lines here. Let's go ahead and trim this. All I'm going to do is just trim off these portions here. And get everything nice and square and pretty. That looks really good. Let's go ahead and join this together. Remember, everything has to be a closed profile or polyline. And now I'll start working on what I have to do here on the top. So what I'm going to do here is I'll create a circle that has a diameter. So I'll type in D, enter, of 0.625 or 5/8. Let's go ahead and create a line straight up from this middle. Offset a distance of 0.25. All right, and then from here I can just create a rectangle, and that'll be what I need to kind of finish this part off. So I'll do that. I'll just create a rectangle going from that end point. I'm just going to touch this end point here and send it over that direction. Actually, and I think that's going to be all that I need. I'll go ahead and delete these two lines here. Use the mirror command. Select here. And send it straight across to here. Okay, and then one other thing that I'm going to need to do is that when I subtract that out, there's going to be a circle that's going to be located here as well. So I'll go ahead and create it here. I'll go to the circle command, D for diameter, and this circle has a diameter of 0.1875. We'll go ahead and move this circle down a distance of 0.25. Okay, now I think we have everything we need to finish out and do the connecting rod. So we're going to first start off with the Revolve command. I'll go ahead and select here. So once I'm done selecting that piece, I'm going to select these two endpoints. Endpoint here, endpoint here, and then it's going to go 360, which is going to be the default. So just go ahead and hit enter. Just kind of rotate this thing on the side so I can see what's going on. Now remember that your circle is sitting right in the middle and it's going this direction. Let's go ahead and switch our gizmo to a rotate gizmo. We're going to select here. Use this red axis. I'll go ahead and stand it up going this direction. And then I'll do the blue axis and send it going this direction. I'm going to move these two pieces from the center of this circle to the center of this circle here. Let's go ahead and use the Extrude command. We're going to select both of these two profiles. We're going to send it this way, a distance of 0.5. Use the subtract command. So we're going to subtract. Select the object I want to keep, enter. Then I'll select the objects I want to remove from it or subtract from it. Let's go ahead and delete this circle here. And now we do have a circle that's on the inside of here. Let's go ahead and use the move gizmo. And I'm just going to put a window going right across it here, and it should select it. And then I'll grab this green axis and pull it out this direction. And it looks like it actually rotated my circle, which is no problem. We'll select it here, use the rotate gizmo, and then we'll spin it up on the red axis there. Let's go ahead and use the extrude command. We're just going to send this going all the way through. Subtract. We're going to select the object I want to keep, enter, and then the object I want to remove from it. Go ahead and hit enter. All right, so that looks really good to me. Next, let's go ahead and start creating the handle. So I'll switch back to the top view here. Let's go ahead and rotate this to the side, and then start working on this top handle part. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is start off with the line here. I'll send it across a distance of 3. Let's go ahead and put these circles at the end of it. Excuse me. Let's use a circle, center radius. These are actually diameter circles, but I'll go here and I'll just type in D, enter 0.3125. Let's go ahead and mirror this to the other side. All right. Do a little bit more work to this. Let's offset this a distance of 0.0625, which is 16ths. A 16th, so offset 0.0625. This number is actually half of the thickness of this. All right, let's do an extend. So we're going to extend to here. And now while I'm in this command, I'll just hold down the shift button and that should take me to a trim. So kind of combining these commands, keeping them all into one. Oops, looks like I accidentally did something I didn't want to do. Let go of that shift button, hit the undo, then hold down the shift button, and now I should be able to trim that piece between it. And if I have to zoom in, I can. You really don't have to stick out this far. Sometimes it's easier just to zoom in and trim off certain things. All right, that's done. Let's go ahead and join this together. Let's go ahead and make a line going right down from that midpoint. Now, I'm just going to use this line as kind of a reference or a guideline, and it's going to be really important, and you'll see the meaning of this when I start putting this stuff together. Okay, let's go ahead and rotate this, or revolve it, I should say. Let's go ahead and use the revolve. Select this component here, enter. From this endpoint to this one, and enter. Okay. So now we have all 3 of our parts created, and we want to start assembling this, right? Somehow, some way, we need to start kind of putting this together. First thing that I'm going to do is kind of rotate this, and I think I'll save that for the end. I was going to rotate it and get it into the correct orientation of how I want it, but I'm going to leave it in this orientation, and then we'll rotate it at the end. All right, so I'm going to select here. I'll go ahead and use the blue axis, and I'm just going to spin it this direction. I'll use the move command, and I'll go from this center, and it's okay to use your shift and right clicks and choose center. So I'm going to use this center here, and then I'm going to come and place it on. Let's go ahead and shift and right click again. The center, that's going to be located here at the top. Okay, and now I need to go ahead and put this part to the inside of here. I'm just going to switch this back to a wireframe just so I can see between it. And I can see actually these 2 circles is what I really want to see. All right, so I'm going to go to move this object, and I'll choose from that endpoint. Remember, that's my guideline there. I'll zoom into here, shift right click, choose the mid between 2 points. And now I should be able to find these 2 centers. So I have a center there, and I have a center there, and that should place it right in the middle of it. Let's go ahead and get rid of my extra line here. Let's go ahead and switch it back to the shades of gray. And now I have my component all assembled together, right? Let's go ahead and rotate this and stand it up. So I have the rotate command on. Let's go ahead and use this window here. Use my rotate gizmo. So I'm just going to grab this red axis. And I need to stand this thing up going at 90 degrees. Okay. Let's go ahead and zoom into this. And hopefully you enjoyed this. This was kind of, a nice little fun project of creating a loft, as well as some revolves and some extrusion. So this is the kind of limitations that you're going to run into here in AutoCAD, is that we do have a way to constrain things or mate them, if I'm talking in SolidWorks term, but by far it's going to be much more simpler to move it and things of that nature. But you don't have any control over it however you want. So if I wanted to spin this barbell, for example, at the top, I can use the rotate, right? They do use a 3D rotate, and it should do a good job of finding the center here. So if I'm able to select it here, you can see, and let's go ahead and turn the ortho off, I should have that option of rotating this around. Okay, so I do have that option, as well as I can move this going up and down just by using these gizmos, and it makes things super easy and super simple. But hopefully you enjoyed watching this video. Thank you for sticking with me on this one. This should have been a long video, but if you like AutoCAD or doing, stuff of this nature, you can find out that you can do some fascinating things with AutoCAD, and you've seen how quick that I was able to draw this. Well, sometimes it's easier just to go ahead and create this, especially the loft portion, and then export it to a program like AutoCAD or not AutoCAD, to Inventor or SolidWorks. But other than that, you can create them, rather quickly, and it can be kind of simple in here because most people, can draft better in AutoCAD as opposed to in the other programs. But anyway, thank you for watching this. As always, keep drafting. I'll see you in the next video. And thank you for subscribing and liking to this channel.